Doing a video on the installation of the cam chain tensioners in the 32 valve 928 engine. This goes from 1987 to 1995. These ones can be also installed in the 1985 and 86 engines with some slight modifications. As you will see, there are two very different styles to the tensioners. One is for the left head, one is for the right bank, and you absolutely cannot reverse them. So to know as to which one goes in which head, you first look at the timing belt of the engine, and the crankshaft always rotates in this direction, so therefore it is pulling the oil pump in this direction, and the same pulling the camshaft in this direction. So when you are pulling the camshaft in the correct direction, which is that way, you will see that it then pulls the tension on the top side of the chain. So when you look at the two tensioners, you can see as to how they are mounted, and you will see one of them is the tensioning side and one of them is the hard side. Obviously the tensioning side needs to go to the slack side of the chain, or the side that is not pulled. This then also has the nylon pad as being dragged upon with this little lip at the leading edge so that it can't just rip the chain pad right off. It is imperative that that gets put into place correctly and that you do not reverse them head to head. And I'm trying to do this one-handed here, so it might be a little bit tricky. And you do kind of have to wiggle the chain up and down a bit, and then it can slide in like so. Once you have that one installed, you want to take the other chain pad, and again, the cam rotates in the same way. However, on this one, it is rotating this way and it is pulling the chain from the bottom. So again, you want to make sure that the pad on the bottom is the fixed side and the tensioner for the slack side is on the top. And that guy can then be installed like so. Again, trying to do this one-handed here. Okay, once that is done, you then put in these bolts here and here for the chain tensioner, and those guys get tightened up to about 7 foot-pounds is what the factory manual states. So I'm going to go ahead and do those guys, and I will be right back with the second part. Okay, now that those guys are in, as you can see on both sides, I have not tightened them yet because I prefer to put in the oiling tubes. Now, the oiling tubes have two banjo bolts with crush washers on either side, as you can see, and there are two different tubes that are one per head. If you look at the tensioner, you can clearly see as to this one goes here, down to the lower oil feed hole on this side, and the other one that is offset and twisted goes into the other head with the angled port, and again you see the little crush washer on the lower port. When installing these, I prefer to leave that lower crush washer on the lower port just sitting there, and I then feed this guy in, making sure not to disrupt that lower one. I then just thread in the banjo bolt ever so slowly, and once it's started, I then take the other banjo bolt with the washer on the top, and I do prefer to have this on a socket with an extension. So 2 seconds while I set that up. Okay, so this is what I do. I just put it in there like this, and you do need to make sure that you still have that lower crush washer into position, and it does take a little bit of wiggling to ensure the crush washer stays in position and that you get it all started. Once that is started, you can then go to the other side and do the exact same thing. So again, you take your oiling tube, and you want to make sure that your crush washer is roughly in position. If it doesn't want to stay, or you feel that you can't do it with it in there, or that it's just not going to be able to come back up and into place, you can always put a smidgen of grease on the washer, and then you can stick the washer into place and it will stay in place a lot easier for you. But as you can see, this guy is slightly out of place. So what you can do is just even take the socket and just pull it up and into place, and the tube should hold it there a lot nicer, as it has. I'm trying to get some light, and then you just take the setup there and plunk that back into the hole and start her down. And then you just tighten these guys. Now everything can be tightened up and you're good to go.